May 11th, 2022, 6:17 p.m., Paterson, New Jersey. 6 unmarked cars carrying FBI agents pull onto a quiet residential street. The neighborhood is typical suburban America. Small houses, modest lawns, the kind of place where nothing dramatic ever happens. But today is different. Within minutes, the agents spot their targets rounding a corner, a young girl walking with a man. They move fast. Officers descend on the pair, separating them instantly. The girl, barely 15 years old, is taken to a hospital for evaluation. The man is put in handcuffs and searched. "What's your name?" they ask. "Arnold Castillo," he replies. But here's what the FBI doesn't know yet. 8 days earlier, this same man had convinced a 15-year-old girl from Indiana to climb into an Uber for a 700-mile journey across multiple state lines. He'd paid the driver $1,000 cash to transport her directly to his apartment. And here's what's even more disturbing. The Roblox gaming community had already exposed this predator as a danger to children 18 months earlier, with evidence, with warnings, with detailed documentation of his behavior. Roblox had done virtually nothing to stop him. This is the story of how a billion-dollar gaming platform failed to protect the children it profits from, and how a community of teenage vigilantes tried to do the job that a corporation wouldn't. Roblox is the biggest online recreation zone for kids on the planet. Every single day, 70 million users log in to play games, chat with friends, and hang out in virtual worlds. It's not just one game, it's an entire App Store-like collection of experiences. Players can build roller coasters, design fashion shows, race cars, explore haunted houses, or just hang out in digital cafes. Around 40% of Roblox users are under 13 years old, and creating an account takes less than 60 seconds. You don't need an email address. You don't need to provide a real name. Everyone plays anonymously. This seems perfect. A safe, creative space where kids can learn, build, and socialize. The company markets itself as educational, empowering, and family-friendly. But for predators, Roblox represents something else entirely. It's a hunting ground with built-in camouflage. Millions of children, all anonymous, all accessible, all trusting. Since 2018, police in the United States have arrested at least 24 people accused of abducting or abusing victims they'd first met on Roblox. Among them, a sheriff's deputy, a third-grade teacher, a nurse, and one of Roblox's most successful game developers. That developer is the reason we're here today. This is Arnold Castillo. He's 22 years old, pale and soft around the edges, with messy brown hair that he rarely bothers to style. He lives with his mother in Paterson, New Jersey, in a small apartment where he spends most of his time indoors. He's not particularly social in the real world. Neighbors barely know him. He rarely leaves the house except for necessities. But online, Arnold Castillo is a completely different person. In the Roblox universe, Castillo operates under several aliases. Most know him as Dr. Rafatnik. Also, Jacob Shedletsky. Jaden Shedletsky. He tells people he's the brother of John Shedletsky, one of Roblox's original creative directors and co-founders. Kids believe him. Why wouldn't they? He seems to have insider knowledge, connections, authority. In 2017, Castillo begins working on what will become his masterpiece, a game called Sonic Eclipse Online. It's exactly what Roblox's young audience craves. Players can race as Sonic the Hedgehog and his friends through elaborate courses. The game has professional voice acting, smooth gameplay mechanics, and detailed graphics that rival official Sonic games. Sonic Eclipse explodes in popularity, 90 million visits, a thriving Discord community, merchandise, fan art. For a user-generated game on Roblox, this is massive success. Within the Roblox ecosystem, successful developers like Castillo occupy a unique position. They're not just game creators, they're celebrities. Kids look up to them like rock stars. They have influence, credibility, and most importantly, trust. In his Discord server, Castillo cultivates this image carefully. He presents himself as a mentor figure, someone who can help young artists and aspiring developers break into the gaming industry. He offers opportunities, connections, even financial support for promising talent. But beneath this carefully constructed persona, something much darker is developing. At first, the jokes in Castillo's Discord server seem harmless enough. Gaming banter, memes, the kind of irreverent humor that teenagers use to bond online. But gradually, subtly, the content starts shifting. Castillo begins making inappropriate comments about young users in his Discord. He frames it as edgy comedy just pushing boundaries for laughs. It's all just trolling, right? Except it isn't. In private messages, away from the public Discord channels, Castillo begins reaching out to individual users. Young girls, specifically. He targets aspiring artists, kids who are passionate about game development, children who seem isolated or seeking validation. The conversations start professionally. He compliments their work, offers encouragement, suggests collaboration opportunities, but slowly, incrementally, they become more personal, more inappropriate, more predatory. In late 2020, screenshots surfaced that change everything. A private chat between Castillo and a younger girl. The messages are explicit, disturbing, unambiguous. Soon I'll corrupt you beyond your wildest dreams. Words cannot explain what I want to do with you. You're the reason why I'm gonna end up behind bars. The gaming community is horrified. Users begin sharing the screenshots, documenting Castillo's behavior, building a case against him, but they quickly realize something frustrating. Roblox's reporting system is basically useless for this kind of predatory behavior, so they turn to someone who's made a career out of fighting battles that Roblox won't. Ben Simon sits in his gaming room in suburban Tucson, Arizona. The space smells like marijuana and creativity. He's 27 years old, and he's built a YouTube empire by doing one thing extremely well: exposing predators on Roblox. Simon broadcasts under the pseudonym Ruben Sim, and he has 1.2 million subscribers who tune in specifically to watch him take down bad actors in the Roblox community. He's been banned from the platform over 100 times, but that hasn't slowed him down. If anything, it's made him more determined. He didn't set out to become a digital vigilante. But after years of watching Roblox fail to protect its youngest users, Simon and others like him started doing the job that the corporation wouldn't. When Simon receives the screenshots of Castillo's private messages, he doesn't hesitate. This isn't just inappropriate behavior, it's evidence of a crime in progress. Simon posts the screenshots to Twitter with detailed commentary about Castillo's pattern of behavior. He creates a comprehensive video breaking down the evidence, explaining who Dr. Rafatnik really is, and calling for immediate action. He sends everything directly to Roblox's developer relations team. The community responds immediately. Other users come forward with their own experiences. Parents file complaints. Even the mother of the 12-year-old girl submits an official report. The evidence is overwhelming. The pattern is clear. The danger is immediate. So what does Roblox do? They ban the Dr. Rafatnik account. They file a report with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children as required by law. And then they stop. Sonic Eclipse Online remains active and profitable. Castillo continues operating through alternate accounts. The Discord server stays up. The merchandise sales continue. 2 weeks after the ban, Castillo posts on social media. "Thanks for driving more money to my game, man. You guys are really stupid by giving me all this publicity." He's not wrong. The controversy has actually boosted his game's visibility. More players means more revenue. Roblox continues paying him developer fees, $41,000 in just the first 8 months of 2020. Simon is outraged by what he sees as Roblox's weak response. He tries escalating through official channels, calling police with Castillo's online aliases. But law enforcement tells him there isn't enough evidence for a criminal investigation. Without real names, physical addresses, or jurisdiction clarity, digital crimes are nearly impossible to prosecute. Simon feels like he's hitting walls everywhere, so the community tries a different approach. A 22-year-old Japanese player decides to contact Sega directly. He writes to Sega executives explaining that their Sonic the Hedgehog character is being used by a predator on Roblox to lure children. He provides documentation, evidence, context. He tweets at the company publicly, creating pressure and visibility. The strategy works. Sega files a copyright infringement notice with Roblox, and Sonic Eclipse Online disappears in late 2021. The community celebrates. They've finally found a way to hurt Castillo where it matters most: his revenue stream and his platform for reaching victims. But they've also made a critical mistake. They've driven him underground. With his main game shut down and his primary account banned, most people assume Arnold Castillo has moved on. Maybe he's learned his lesson. Maybe he's found some other outlet for his energies. They're wrong. Instead of disappearing, Castillo has simply adapted. He creates new accounts, adopts new personas, develops new games, but most importantly, he refines his hunting techniques. Operating under the alias Jacob Shedletsky, Castillo begins targeting a new victim, a 15-year-old girl from Indiana who creates anime artwork and posts it online. The approach is more sophisticated this time. Instead of crude sexual messages, Castillo positions himself as a professional mentor. He's a successful game developer, he tells her. He has connections in the industry. He can help launch her career. He starts by purchasing one of her digital art pieces through Cash App, paying well above asking price. It's a small gesture, but it establishes a financial relationship and demonstrates his resources. Then come the gifts. An artist glove for drawing tablet shipped directly to her parents' house. A Max Smart tablet drawing stand. A Wacom Mobile Studio Pro 13 computer worth over $3,000. Each delivery reinforces his credibility and generosity. The girl is 15 years old. She's talented but unrecognized. She lives in small-town Indiana with limited opportunities and family tensions. Suddenly, a successful developer from the gaming industry is taking personal interest in her work, buying her professional equipment, promising career opportunities. Over 4 months, they exchange hundreds of messages on Roblox. Castillo listens to her complaints about home life, validates her artistic ambitions, and gradually positions himself as her pathway to independence and success. In the game, their avatars begin appearing together, matching boyfriend and girlfriend t-shirts, holding hands, digital romance that mirrors the psychological grooming happening in private messages. Castillo tells her he wants to help her escape an unhappy situation at home. He has space in his apartment. He has industry connections. He can provide the support and opportunities she deserves. The conversations become increasingly focused on her running away from home. Castillo provides detailed logistics, travel arrangements, financial support, housing plans. He makes it sound practical, achievable, even responsible. The girl begins seriously considering it. What 15-year-old wouldn't be tempted by the promise of independence, creative fulfillment, and escape from family conflict? On May 3rd, 2022, the plan goes into motion. Castillo has thought through the logistics carefully. Flying would require identification, create paper trails, involve airport security. Driving would require him to leave his apartment, risk being seen, and potentially encounter law enforcement. So he chooses a third option that's both brilliant and horrifying in its simplicity. He hires someone else to do the kidnapping for him. Castillo contacts an Uber driver and offers him $1,000 cash for what he describes as a special delivery job. The driver needs to pick up a package in Indiana and transport it to New Jersey. The package, of course, is a human being. On May 3rd, 2022, the driver arrives at a predetermined location in Indiana. The 15-year-old girl is waiting with a small bag of personal possessions. She climbs into the back seat for what will become a 700-mile journey across multiple state lines. The girl has told no one about her plans. She's taken personal items that suggest she doesn't intend to return home soon. Despite having no financial resources of her own, she's committed to a plan that will leave her completely dependent on someone she's never met in person. During the long drive, does she have second thoughts? Does she try to contact family? Does the driver suspect anything unusual about this transaction? We may never know the full details of those hours on the road. What we do know is that when the girl's mother notices she's missing, it takes 2 full days before she can meet with police. Even then, the initial response is limited. Teenage runaways aren't unusual. Without evidence of foul play, law enforcement's options are constrained. But the detective assigned to the case, working with the girl's sister, slowly pieces together a digital trail. The sister mentions someone named Jacob Shedletsky who had been communicating with the missing girl through Roblox. That name leads to evidence of gift deliveries, financial transactions, months of grooming conversations. For 8 days, the girl remains missing while authorities work around the clock to track her location. During this time, Castillo keeps her confined to a small room in his apartment. He controls her movements, her access to food, her ability to contact the outside world. He knows she has no financial resources to return home and no local support network to turn to. The FBI, working with local law enforcement, slowly builds a case. They subpoena records from Roblox, Amazon, Cash App, and other platforms. They trace IP addresses, analyze purchase patterns, map communication networks. The digital breadcrumbs lead to Paterson, New Jersey, to an apartment building, to Arnold Castillo. On May 11th, 2022, 8 days after the girl disappeared, the trail ends. The FBI operation is swift and overwhelming. 6 unmarked cars converge on the residential street simultaneously. Agents position themselves at multiple exit points, ensuring no possibility of escape. When they spot Castillo walking with the missing girl, officers move immediately. They separate the pair before either can react, securing the victim and detaining the suspect. The girl is rushed to a hospital for medical evaluation and psychological support. Castillo is handcuffed, searched, and transported to an FBI field office. At the FBI office, Castillo agrees to be interviewed without a lawyer present. What happens next is a confession that reveals the full scope of his crimes. Castillo admits to using multiple false identities online: Jacob Shedletsky, Jaden Shedletsky, Dr. Rafatnik. He confirms that he paid an Uber driver $1,000 to transport the girl from Indiana to New Jersey. He acknowledges that he kept her confined in his apartment for 8 days, controlling her movements and access to basic necessities. He even admits that he had sex with the victim multiple times during her captivity. Castillo describes himself to investigators as a successful game developer who employed dozens of young people in his Roblox projects. He portrays the victim as a promising artist who was unhappy living at home and claims he was trying to help her pursue career opportunities in the gaming industry. FBI Special Agent Len Rothermeek listens to the interview from Indiana, trying to understand how this happened. How had a teenage girl been convinced to travel 700 miles to meet someone she'd never seen in person? What made Castillo so credible, so trustworthy, so persuasive? Rothermeek begins researching Castillo's online personas and makes a discovery that shocks even experienced federal investigators. Seeing what those children did as far as compiling all this and their ability to identify Mr. Castillo, Rothermeek later says, well, they might want to submit some applications to the FBI one day. The gaming community had already solved this case 18 months earlier, with better evidence than law enforcement typically sees in digital crimes. They'd identified the predator, documented his methods, traced his real identity, and provided detailed warnings to platform operators and authorities. None of it had been enough to prevent what happened in May 2022. August 30th, 2023, Federal Court, Southern District of Indiana. Arnold Castillo, now 23 years old, stands before Judge Matthew P. Brookman for sentencing. He has pleaded guilty to 2 federal charges: transportation of a minor with intent to engage in criminal activity, and coercion and enticement of a minor. The maximum penalty for each charge is life in prison. Castillo is sentenced to 15 years in federal prison, followed by supervised release. He will be required to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life. The case is closed. Justice, in the legal sense, has been served. But bigger questions remain unanswered. When Bloomberg journalists investigate how this happened, Roblox executives form a crisis response team to analyze what went wrong. The company's public response is carefully crafted. They claim they didn't know who Castillo was before his arrest, had no payment records for anyone with that name, and maintained no accounts were linked to him. But internal records tell a different story. Chat logs recovered by the FBI show months of grooming conversations happening directly on Roblox's platform. Financial records reveal developer payments to Castillo totaling $41,000 in just 8 months of 2020. The company's own reporting systems had flagged his account multiple times following community complaints. Most damning of all, the platform had received detailed warnings about Castillo's predatory behavior from the gaming community 18 months before the abduction. Screenshots, chat logs, victim testimonies, even his real name and address, everything needed to take decisive action. The company faces a choice. implement stronger safety measures that might limit growth and user engagement, or continue prioritizing scale and profitability while accepting occasional tragedies as the cost of doing business. The evidence suggests they've chosen the latter. Arnold Castillo isn't an isolated case. He's one example of a systemic problem that continues today. Since 2018, police in the United States have arrested at least 24 people accused of abducting or abusing victims they'd first met on Roblox. The list includes professionals from multiple industries: education, healthcare, law enforcement, people who passed background checks, held positions of trust, and used their credibility to access victims. The gaming community that tried to stop Castillo continues fighting these battles every day. Ben Simon, despite being sued by Roblox for $1.6 million and permanently banned from the platform, still receives thousands of complaints from users who've given up on official reporting channels. The same vulnerabilities that enabled Castillo's crimes remain largely unaddressed. The same institutional failures that allowed him to operate for years continue protecting other predators today.